The last thing that you want is for you to contact a loan officer to get pre-approved and for them to reach out and give you quotes, and you thinking that you're all fine and dandy when you reach your closing costs, or they quote you on your closing costs and they say, oh, it's only going to be $2,000. And then the next day, oh, it's going to be about $5,000. And then next week, oh, it's going to be about $7,000. And then once you contract up, oh, it's probably going to be about $12,000. That's a huge difference in closing costs that you're not preparing for, and you thought, oh, okay, I do have this money in the very beginning, and you're budgeting, and then you come to find out your closing costs are actually $12,000. That's a huge difference to put on a family and pressure to just think that you have that money in the bank. This is one of the tricks that they do, is that they know that buyers are trained, you guys are trained to focus only on interest rate. That's the only thing for the most part whenever I talk to my buyers is, what's your interest rate? What's your interest rate? And these lenders know that, and they're using that to their advantage. What I see some lenders do is that they will only disclose on these quotes that they're issuing out their fees. They're not going into any other kind of fees or closing costs that are not outside of their fees, which whenever you're talking to a lender and getting pre-approved, the biggest thing is, what is my total all-in cost? How much can I afford? So that way you can properly budget for not only your cash to close the day of closing, but everything else that comes with the house, right? It's not like you have to just worry about your cash to close. Like, no, you have other things now, responsibilities that you're taking on that comes with the house that you need to be able to, you know, understand and know that you can afford the furniture that comes with it, or the home warranty that comes with it, or appliances that you may need to purchase. So it's really important that you understand, you know, that the lender is giving you all in cash to close. So what I see is lenders will only quote Section A. So on an official loan estimate. Now, this is a binding document between you and the lender. On Section A, legally, those fees cannot change on a loan estimate. However, there's a bunch of other sections in those loan estimates that lenders should be preparing you for. Fees such as appraisals, attorney fees, recording fees, title fees, taxes, insurance. So even though the lender does not charge all of those fees, they should be included in your quotes and in your loan estimates, so that way you can properly prepare for your cash to close, because yes, the lender fees, but all of everybody else's closing costs need to be properly budgeted into your quotes, so that way you know what your cash to close is. For an example, I had a lady reach out to me and she was shopping me with another lender, and I had already provided her with a quote that went over her monthly payment and her cash to close, which is consisted of her down payment plus the closing costs that not only us, the lender, charge, but everybody else charge. But she reached out to me and she forwarded me the email that the lender had sent out, and it was basically just a monthly payment and a cash to close. And an interest rate tied to it. So it wasn't like a formal document or anything. It was just an email saying, hey, here's your numbers, you're good to go, please reach out to us whenever you find a contract. Well, it's really hard to compete with something like that that isn't listing out and disclosing out every single fee, you know, and just giving a bottom basic number that most likely isn't including all of the fees. And I had the conversation with her, like, there is no way for a consumer to be able to make a smart decision on a loan that is best for them with not all of the information. So you could be choosing a lender based off of an email that they sent with very minimal information, and it might look cheaper then, but guess what? Later on down the road, it's probably going to cost you thousands of dollars, because what if those taxes aren't in there and you don't see it itemized out? Taxes alone, I mean, you guys know how much they are. What if your insurance policy isn't in there? What if the title fees aren't in there? Title fees alone, you know, are pretty substantial. So if those kinds of fees aren't disclosed in there, It makes it almost next to impossible for you to be able to make a smart decision on the best loan program for you. What I suggest in this case, if this has happened to you or happened to somebody that you know, ask for an official quote, or even better, ask for an official loan estimate. It is basically like whenever you go out to a restaurant and you see an itemized receipt of everything that they're charging you for. That quote or loan estimate should have everything itemized out, not just the lender's fees, but everybody's fees in total to make up your cash to close and your monthly payment. And this is just a way for lenders to be able to win your deal, because it makes it very hard for you to be able to compare the entire loan estimate, the entire cash to close that I may be quoting you, but comparing it to something that is not disclosing all of the fees. So it is very irresponsible and disheartening that some lenders do that. They do not have your best interest at heart. So you definitely want to make sure that they are disclosing everybody's fees. Okay, so we talked about your cash to close and how that can be a trick that most lenders can manipulate. Number 2 is going to be artificially lowering your monthly payment. So we're going to talk about monthly payment. So your monthly payment should consist of your principal, your interest, your mortgage insurance, your homeowner's insurance, taxes, and any HOA that might be associated with that property. So some of the things that I have seen in the past is that a lender will only quote on your principal and interest. Well, say that principal and interest is only $1,000 and your escrow is nowhere even near included in there. Your escrow account is your taxes and your insurance. So say your taxes are like $500 a month, which here in the area that I'm at, that's pretty common, and your insurance. So by the time you actually sign up with them and you move forward with them and they get you that official LE, your monthly payment could go from $1,000, what you were thinking, and now you're under contract and now you're being disclosed another price point. Maybe it's $1,700. So that's a huge gap that you're not preparing for that monthly payment. Another thing that will be artificially lowering like a monthly payment would be drastically underquoting the insurance and the taxes, even mortgage insurance on a home. I see this a lot with online lenders because they do not know the area that you're purchasing in, or maybe they're lazy and they don't take the time to actually look up the tax rate that you're purchasing in. And so they're going to drastically lower those taxes because they aren't familiar with the area. Or again, they know that you're shopping lenders and they know that that could definitely bring down your monthly payment. Same with insurance. And then whenever it comes to it, whenever you're choosing for your insurance and you see your monthly payment go up because you chose your insurance, they're gonna go back and be like, well, it's not really our problem. Like, we don't choose your insurance, you chose your own insurance. But lenders should have an idea of where that insurance price point is gonna be, or those taxes price point are gonna be based off of that sales price or the area that you're purchasing in. So now that you know some of the tricks that lenders may use, how do we avoid those situations, right? Like okay, I know this might happen to me, but how can I avoid it? Well, number 1, I would say I always recommend having at least 3 lenders that you're going to shop. That's just being, a knowledgeable buyer and doing your due diligence. Understandable if you are going to shop 3 lenders, but only compare Section A. Section A of the loan estimate, or the lender's fees. Only compare those, because if you're looking at a bunch of different quotes and loan estimates, there could be different charges for the taxes, insurance, title companies, everything like that. And those are not fees that a lender can control. The only fees that the lender can control are their own fees. So I would definitely say to make sure that you are only going to shop based off of Section A or the lender's fees if you get a quote. Because at the end of the day, once you go under contract and all services are ordered and everybody verifies their actual costs, no matter what lender you go with, they should all have the same costs associated with those, because those aren't even their fees. Number 2, pay attention to the monthly payment. I would definitely only look at the principal and interest get the entire quote, see your entire monthly payment. But when you're comparing apples to apples, right, or as you should, the principal and interest is really the only thing that's going to disclose what the difference is, because like we said, any lender can make up taxes, any lender can make up the insurance, the mortgage insurance, HOA, if they're not disclosing it. So all of those things are variable and they change. So just make sure that you're really just paying attention to that P&I, which is only driven by the sales price or your loan amount and your interest rate. So the next thing I would suggest is number 3. Get a quote or a loan estimate. That's the only way too that you're going to be able to avoid some of those trickery things happening. It's because there's a lot disclosed on those things. Like I said, it's a lot of like a receipt itemized out. So if you can have your sheet from lender A, B, C, and have them all pulled up, and you can go line by line and see, oh, okay, what is really the difference? Why is this cash to close 12 grand and why is their cash to close 8 grand and the sales price and loan amount is the same? Well, that quote and loan estimate or loan estimate should be able to disclose that to you. And again, do not feel stuck. So if you get pre-approved and you go under contract, do not feel like you are bound to that lender because now you're under contract. Your contract date should be 30 days. So of course, once you get under contract, you definitely want to make sure that you're reaching out to all of those lenders that you were pre-approved with and saying, hey, please show me your official loan estimate. Let's talk about rates. Let's talk about locking in. And at that point too, that is definitely something that you want to pay attention to, is those rates and how much they're charging you, if they're charging you anything for those rates. So one lender can say, oh, we can get that. And the other lender can say, yeah, we can reach that too, but it's going to cost you X amount. And it's going to be disclosed again in that section A. So once you contract up, that's the time to take action and reach back out to those lenders, those 3 lenders that you might have had and got pre-approved with, and say, hey, what are rates looking like today? What can I lock at? And once you have a loan estimate that shows that, has a little checkbox and it says, yes, you are locked, they have to honor that. There is no going back. They have to honor that. So if you can take a look at all 3 of those loan estimates that have that check mark box with the yes and the fee attached to that interest rate, there is absolutely no way that you can be tricked no longer, I guess. But I would definitely find your trusted loan officer that you feel like in your gut they have your best interest at heart, and be honest with them and be like, hey, I have these, can we please sit down and go over them? I know I've done that multiple times with clients, sat down and went line by line and highlighted the differences, so that way they can see and they can make their best choice financial move for their family.